So the question is, in Parak Lamed Aleph Pasuk Yud Gimel, it says that, speaking about Shabbos, Acha Shabbos Yisai Tishmayru Ki Oisi. It's an ois between me and you. What is this ois? What is the sign? So Rashi here says it's not referring to the Shabbos itself. Rashi says it's referring to the Bechira. Rashi says the choice that Hashem chose us to be the recipient of this gift of the Shabbos. Rashi says that is the gift, that is the ois, the sign. Right? Tell me if you agree with this. Rashi says ois gedoy lahi. It is the big sign. What is the big sign? The big sign beinenu, between us and Hashem, shebacharti bochem, that I chose you. Behanchili lochem esiyam nechasi. The special bond that we have, the special sign that we have, is not the fact that it's not the Shabbos, but it's the choice that Hashem chose us to have the Shabbos, that He chose us to bequeath to us the Yom Menucha. He gave us the Yom Menucha, Limenucha, for us to rest. So the question is here, why did Rashi veer from the Pashup Pshat? Pashup Pshat, it sounds like everyone would have said that the Oisi, what is the sign? The sign would be the Shabbos. That's what everyone would have said. But Rashi is saying, no, it's the choice that Hashem chose us to get this special gift of the Menucha. And when He inherited it to us, He bequeathed it to us, that was a beautiful ois, a beautiful sign that we got from Hashem. So why did Rashi say Kipshuta? Why did Rashi say that the Shabbos is the sign? The fact that we have the actual Shabbos. The Shabbos is usually, people refer to that as the Shabbos. The Shabbos is a sign. The Chavetz Chaim has a famous story that the Shabbos itself is a sign. The Chavetz Chaim says the story about someone who has a store. As long as he's always open, as long as he has a sign that says, he sells shoes, so that shows that he's still in business. Once he takes down the sign, that means that he's not in business anymore. Close down his business. So the sign is what shows that you're still in business. So the Chavetz Chaim says on this pasuk, he says a different shot, not like Rashi. He says the sign is Shabbos. As long as a Jew keeps Shabbos, that shows that his sign is still up. The store is still in business. He's still a good Jew. Once he takes down the sign, that means he's not in business anymore. That means he's not really. That's the sign of a Jew. That's what the Chavetz Chaim says. That's what everyone would think. That's the PARSHA. That's the first thought. But Rashi here says no. It's not the actual Shabbos, which is the sign. Rashi says the sign is the fact that Hashem chose us to give us this Yom Menucha. So why didn't Rashi learn like the Chavetz Chaim? Right? Why didn't he pick to go like the Chavetz Chaim, that the Shabbos is the sign? So the answer would be in the diktuk, in the actual grammar, because it says it's ois he. It says ois he is singular. So therefore, when it says he, it doesn't say in plural, ois, however it would be, ois, because what's the words of the pasuk? It says ach es shabsoisai. It says shabsoisai is plural. It doesn't say ach Shabbos. It doesn't say Shabbosai. It says Shabsoisai with two sofs and a yud at the end. That means it's plural. So therefore, when it says Ach Shabsoisai, my Shabbosim, my plural Shabbosim, Tishmayru. By the way, Tishmayru also you should watch. Ki ois he, but it shouldn't have said ois he. He is singular. Therefore, Rashi saw from there that it can't be that the he is referring to the Shabbos, because the Shabbos here is plural. Therefore, the he must be something which is singular. He is singular, so therefore Rashi said it must be referring to the actual Bechira, the choice that Hashem chose us to bequeath to us this beautiful gift, which is the Yom Menucha. That choice that Hashem chose us to inherit that and be able to rest on that day, that choice is the sign between us and Hashem. And therefore that's what prompted Rashi not to learn like the Pashup Pshat, not like learn like the simple reading of the verse as the Chavetz Chaim had read it. Chavetz Chaim maybe was going in a different pasuk, or there's 70 ways to read a pasuk, but this is the way Rashi read it. Now, if you look a little bit, let's just see that this pasuk, it actually is a similar pasuk later. This is the first pasuk. This is Perek Lamed Aleph pasuk Yud Beis Yud Gimel. Now, let's look a little further. Let's turn to pasuk Yud Zayin. Right, this is actually, we say some of this, we're going to say Sheshes Yomim, that's Tasvav. Tezayin is what we say on Shabbos morning. We say V'shom of Neis also Shabbos, La'asesis HaShabbos D'Orsam B'Selam. And in Pasuk Yud Zayin we say Beinu V'Emin Yisrael. This is actually a text that we speak out on Shabbos morning at the Kiddush. Now notice here it says, Be'enu b'nei Yisrael ois hi li'olam ki sheishes yamim. This is a sign that Hashem made us, right, that He has between us. Ki sheishes yamim, He made the Shemayim and the Aretz, the skies and heaven, and on the seventh day He rested. So it's interesting that we repeat this whole ois. We have the ois in the first pasuk, and now we repeat it again from pasuk Yud Gimel to pasuk Yud Zayin. So why do we repeat this idea of the fact that we have an ois? Rashi here doesn't speak out what the ois is, but why is it repeat the same pasuk that it's an ois, the Shabbos between us and Hashem? So on that, it's interesting. We're going to tear apart the fact that we find in Kiddush two things Friday night. One thing we find is that we speak about Shabbos. What is Shabbos in remembrance of? Why do we say, what is Shabbos? Zecher l'tiyas Mitzrayim, right? Right, we say Zecher l'tiyas Mitzrayim. Everyone agree with that? Shabbos, the foundation of Shabbos, we speak it out in Kiddush. Danny's on the ball. Kiddush we say, Zecher l'tiyas Mitzrayim, that's part of Kiddush. On the other hand, we always know that Kiddush also, we speak about another aspect of Shabbos. Shabbos is also Zecher Ma'aseh Bereishis, for the actual creation. The Shabbos day we say that Hashem rested, right? That's like we find a lot of places. On the seventh day Hashem rested, right? That's what we say. Vayera vayvoker yom hashishi vayechulu hashamayim va'oretz v'chol, right? V'chol tzvakam vayechal elokim v'yom hashvi. We say vayechal elokim, Hashem rested v'yom hashvi. It's interesting, by the way, just to think about that. Vayechulu vayechal elokim. He finished his work v'yom hashvi. Which is an interesting question. What does that mean? He finished his work on the Yom HaShvi. Didn't he rest on the Yom HaShvi? Right, we say this the first pasuk. He finished his work on the seventh day. What do you mean he finished his work on the seventh day? I thought he finished on the sixth and he rested on the seventh.
He started it in the evening.
He started what? The rest?
The rest.
When? On the seventh day?
Yeah, on the seventh. By us, the day started in the night.
That's right. But it says that he finished his work by He finished his work by Yom HaShvi.
He started by the night.
He should have said he finished it by Yom HaShishi. By Yishbois by Yom HaShvi. Yom HaShishi. By Yom HaShishi. By Chulu HaShemayim va'aretz. He finished making. We used to have a sign up here. He finished making the Shemayim va'aretz. Vayechal Elokim by Yom HaShvi. He finished Yom HaShvi. He finished all his work on the seventh. I thought he finished his work on the sixth. How can he work on the seventh? We're not allowed to work on the seventh. It's where we don't work because we're trying to go after Hashem rested on the seventh and He didn't do any work, so we abstain from work on the seventh and we rest on the seventh. Yes.
Yeah, but you could just as easily say that Hashem was creating the concept of not working.
And therefore what?
And therefore that in itself was creation because beforehand that concept wasn't there.
So that's an interesting shot. So Rashi here asks my question. It's not my own question. Rashi says his question back in PARSHA Bereshis, and he says this is one of his two answers. One of his two answers is that Hashem created everything in creation except for one thing. He didn't have menucha yet. He didn't make such an idea of rest. And therefore, ba Shabbos, ba menucha. When Shabbos came, then menucha came. And we had rest, and Hashem rested, and that was the finale of creation. When Hashem actually rested, then He finished doing all of His creations. Excellent. Machav into the first pshat of Rashi. And the other pshat of Rashi is that by Chalakim by Yom HaShvi, he finished, this is an astounding pshat, Rashi says he really finished on the sixth day. But what time did he finish? He finished exactly at the last second of the sixth day. The second before Tisa Kachafim, which we don't know. We don't know exactly what time does it turn to night. We have Bein Hashmashos. We have a whole time period from, let's say, a few minutes after Shkia, let's say 10 minutes after Shkia, then we have a question. Maybe it's night, maybe it's not. We don't know for sure. Until we finally see the three stars, then we know for sure it's night. But in that area, that gray area, twilight zone, it's a suffix for us. We don't know if it's day or night. Only Hashem knows exactly when is the split second when it turns from day to night. So therefore, Rashi says that, of course, Hashem finished in the last split second of the day. But it looked to us, at that minute when Hashem, or to an ordinary passerby, it would look like Hashem finished on the seventh day. Because it looked like it was already twilight, and to an ordinary person, it looks like it's already night.
Oh, really?
So Rashi says that the pasuk was written by the eyes of a standby, by a passerby. And a passerby would think it's already the seventh day. But really Hashem finished it on the sixth day. But the pasuk was written by the eyes of a bystander who would think that it would finish on the sixth day. We cannot differentiate between exactly when is the exact time. So we have to add on. That's why we add on Tosfos Shabbos. We add on a few extra minutes because we don't know exactly when Shabbos is. When is the exact same split second when it turns into Shabbos? We add from Chol, from weekday onto Kodesh. We make early Shabbos. We're supposed to add on 2 minutes, 3 minutes to Shabbos, because we don't know exactly when Shabbos is. But Hashem, who knows, Hashem doesn't have to do that. Hashem could do it by the blink of an eye. He could stop resting. Therefore, Rashi says, it was really B'yom HaShishi. But to the eyes of the onlookers, it looked like it was B'yom HaShvi. And therefore, the pasuk was written for those from their perspective. That's the pshat in Kiddush for tomorrow night. Just the two pshatim. So the first pshat is Bar Shabbos, Bar Menucha. We finished the whole concept of all the creations, and one of them was resting. And therefore, he finished resting. He finished the rest. He started resting, and that finished the act of the last thing of creation. And the other pshat is that it was really on the sixth day, not on the seventh day, like his pshat. It was on the sixth day. But on the sixth day, the last second of the split second, that to us it looked like the seventh day. Therefore, the pasuk was written to such a perspective. That's the two pshatim. So based on that, just as a little introduction, so we know that there is, besides the idea that Shabbos is zeichel the Yetzias Mitzrayim, it's also zeichel Ma'aseh Bereishis. As we say in memory that Hashem created the whole Ma'aseh Bereishis, He created the whole creation. So therefore, we say that Shabbos is also zeichel Ma'aseh Bereishis. And if you look through the whole Kiddush, you'll see we say both. We say Hashem Kedushanim V'Ratzavanim Shabbos Kodesh B'Avav zeichel Ma'aseh Bereishis. Then we say Ki Yom Tchil Mikrei Kodesh zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim. So there's a dual aspect here in the Kiddush every Friday night, which has to be reconciled. Why is there two parts to the Kiddush? What is Shabbos? Is Shabbos Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim, or is it Zeichel Ma'aseh Bereishis? Is it a memory of the fact that we left Mitzrayim and we are indebted to Hashem, or is it in fact the memory of that Hashem created the whole world and therefore we're resting just like He rested? What's the pshat? It seems to be a contradiction. What is Shabbos in memory of? Two zeichels. It's zeichel Ma'aseh Bereishis, zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim. So to that we're going to look in these psukim and we're going to try to come out with a nice pshat. Let's look at. If you have the regular chumash, let's turn to Shemot. We actually even in this Shemot, let's turn back to Perek Chof, Pasuk Ches. Is it Perek Chof? Here it speaks about the fact that it says Zachar Yom HaShabbos L'Kadashoi, right? Which is in the small art scroll. It's on page what? Perek Chof, Pasuk Ches. 14. So here it speaks about, again, this is also part of Shabbos Day Kiddush, on page 210 in the thin art scrolls, and in the one with the English, 14. It's on 410, so it's double there. So here you see what the exact idea is of Shabbos, and this is in the Aseres HaDibros. What, 211? 211 in the thin Chumashim, without the English, and 410 in the ones with the English. Now, these are the Luchos Rishonos, right? We know that we got the Luchos, the first Luchos, and this week's Parsha we're going to see that Moshe came down from Har Sinai and he threw down those Luchos, and that was the end of those first Luchos. But let's first read what was written in those first Luchos. So it says in Pasuk Ches, Zachar Yom HaShabbos L'Kadashoi, right? This is part of what we speak out Shabbos morning Kiddush. Zachar Yom HaShabbos L'Kadashoi, Sheishes Yomim Tasem V'Lachtecha, V'Yom HaShvi Shabbos L'Hashem L'Kecha, Lo Yitasecha V'Lecha, Atavincha V'Techa, V'Tcha V'Motzcha V'Emtecha, V'Gecha Hashem B'Shirecha. Now let's focus in on Pasuk Yud Aleph. Pasuk Yud Aleph it says, Ki Sheishes Yomim Osa Hashem Es Hashmayim V'Saretz, Es Ka'yom V'Es Kol Hashabam. You hear the key. Why do we have to rest? Right? V'yom HaShvi, we said in Pasuk Yud, is Shabbos to Hashem. And don't do any work. Why? Pasuk Yud Aleph, Ki sheishes yomim asa Hashem es Hashemayim v'Saretz. Because 6 days Hashem made the Shemayim v'Saretz, es kol Hashabam, and He rested v'yonach v'yom HaShvi. Al kein berach Hashem es Yom HaShabbos v'yikadashehu. So here it sounds like this is alluding to the idea of the fact that Hashem created the heavens and the earth. That's why we have a Shabbos, because of this, because of the fact that Hashem created the whole heavens, like we just spoke out from the whole Kiddush. This is the Luchos Rishonos. So in this week's Parsha, Hashem Moshe is going to come down with these Luchos. He's going to break them, right? He's going to break them. What happens? He goes up to Har Sinai for another 40 days. He comes down with the new Luchos. Those are called the second Luchos, the Luchos Shnius. What does it say in the Luchos Shnius? So let's fast forward. What? Shamar. It's going to change a few words. Let's turn to Parshas Va'eschanan, where it speaks about the actual throwing, where he threw it down, and he came back with new luchos. It's in the thin ones on page 508, without any English. And the ones with the English should be double that. Perak Hey, Pasuk Yud Beis.
Let's see what time.
What page is that on? Perak Hey. 509 in the thin ones? What? 568? 968 in the article with the English. Now, let's focus on what, in the second Luchos, when he comes down, what does he say the Shabbos is in memory of? So it says, Pasuk Yud Beis, Shamar, right? We had here, Ron tipped us off that, if you notice, it doesn't say Zachar, it says Shamar. But what does it say? Shamar is Yom HaShabbos V'Kadshoy, right? Shamar is alluding to the negative commandments. You should watch it. Kasher Tivcha Hashem L'Kecha. Sheishes Yamim, Pasuk Yud Gimel. 6 days you should work. And do all your work. And the right? You should all rest. Why? Here, listen, look at Pasuk Tesvav as he says the why. You should remember that you were a slave in Mitzrayim. Hashem took you out of there of his Raya Netuya. Al-Kain means therefore. Why? Because Hashem took you out of Mitzrayim, Al-Kain. Therefore, Tivcha Hashem L'Kecha Latis is Yom HaShabbos. Therefore, Hashem commanded you to make a Shabbos. So the question is, we have a stira from the Luchos Rishonos to the Luchos Shnius. Moshe, he did a switch. When we weren't looking, when he went up to Shemayim, he switched from the Luchos Rishonos, he switched Zachar to Shamar. That's one thing. Zachar are the positive commandments, Shamar is the negative commandments. But he made another switch. In the first Luchos, he said that the reason why we do it is because of memory of creation. And the second Luchos, he said the reason why we have Shabbos is because of Mitzrayim, because of Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. So how do you reconcile this stira? Right? We have a stira in Kiddush, and we have a stira from the Luchos Rishonos to the Luchos Shnius, right? So the answer, right? How do we reconcile the stira between Kiddush and Luchos Rishonos and Luchos Shnius? Is to actually look carefully at the words. What exactly does it say here? In this pasuk right now, where we're holding in Devarim, in Va'eschanan, pasuk Tesvav, it says you should remember that you were a slave in Mitzrayim, and Hashem took you out from there with a mighty hand. Al-Kain, Tivcha Hashem L'Kecha Lasis is Yom HaShabbos. It says, therefore Hashem commanded you to observe Shabbos, or to keep Shabbos. It seems like there's a different idea. Here it seems to be the idea why we have to keep Shabbos. Let's go back, if you still hold on to the place back before, what was that, 210? On page 210 in the thin ones, 410 in the art scroll with the English. There it says that in Pasuk Yud Aleph, there it said the reason of Shabbos, it said, Ki sheishes yomim Hashem made Shemayim va'aretz, va'yonach va'yom hashvi, al-kain beirach Hashem es yom HaShabbos v'yikadsheu. There it's speaking about why Hashem made the day holy. Why did Hashem make such a beautiful day of Shabbos? And He gave it Kedusha, He gave it holiness, and He gave it bracha, right? Al-kain beirach Hashem, He gave it bracha, v'yikadsheu, and He gave it Kedusha, He gave it holiness. Why did He give it holiness, and why did He give it blessing? That is because Kisheishes Yomim, that's because of the creation. Because it's modeled after the creation. When Hashem made in the seventh day, He rested from His work. So He decided every seventh day should also be a day of rest. And He gave it Kedusha, and He gave it Bracha. He gave it blessing unto the day. The day itself became holy. That was Zeichel L'Maaseh Bereishis. That's the pshat in the day. But in Devarim, in Parshas Va'eschanan, there we already know the day is holy. That we got from the Luchos Rishonos. Here in the Luchos Shnius is saying a different idea. It's saying why we have to keep Shabbos. Why Hashem gave it to us as a personal gift, was because we were slaves in Mitzrayim. We were slaves in bondage, and therefore we have to remember v'zacharta. Right? You have to remember we were slaves in Mitzrayim, and Hashem took us out of there with a big hand. And therefore, Al-Kain, Tivcha, Hashem commanded you to watch the Shabbos. We are the ones who have gotten this gift of the Yom HaShabbos. It's a personal gift to us.
In Shemot, because in Shemot is Yom HaShabbos, the contract Kashet, Simcha Hashem Elokecha, which God has commanded you. Is that referring to the Zachor?
When it says Shamar here in Pasuk Yud Beis?
Shemot, but then in Elokecha it says, as God has commanded you.
Where? Right at the end of that Pasuk.
At the end of the Pasuk.
Right, yeah.
Is that referring to the Zachor?
It's a funny thing because it's the same exact Pasuk.
This one says, as God has commanded you.
Oh, it doesn't say there.
That.
That's interesting idea. I should flip that around. We have only the first four words of the pasuk. First 5 words are the same thing. Shomer Yom HaShabbos L'Kadshay or Zachos Yom HaShabbos L'Kadshay. So Ron is asking a good question. Why here does it say Kasher Tzivcha Hashem Elokecha? So we have to look into that. That's a good question. We'll think about that. But we'll get back to that. But so now we have a little idea. There's 2 things here. There's the first pasuk, which is speaking about the fact that Hashem made a Shabbos. The inception of Shabbos, the whole making of the day of holiness, was Zeichel L'Maaseh Bereshis, in the memory of the day of creation. But here we have the fact that we have a personal relationship. We have the Shabbos. It was given to us only because a memory, because we were taken out of Mitzrayim. So we have the obligation to keep Shabbos. It also is an obligation, besides for being a gift. It was also given to us because Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim. We have this indebtedness to Hashem. So based on this, let's go now back to where we're holding in PARSHA Tisa with this introduction. Let's turn back to Tisa. Sorry about all the turning. But in PARSHA Tisa, we started out, we spoke about ois. It's a sign. We said this sign, and we spoke about a sign again. It was in Perek Lamed Aleph, Pasuk Yud Gimel, which in these psukim is in the thin art scroll. It's on page 256. Thin art scroll is 256, and in the English it's 490. 490 in the fatter art scroll. So there, let's think about the psukim very carefully and see if we could allude to these 2 ideas. So the first pasuk we said is in pasuk Yud Gimel. We said that he said you should watch the Shabbos. Yud Daled, Tes Vav, you should 6 days you should keep the Shabbos. Tes Zayin, Yishamu B'nei Yisrael the Shabbos. And there he said, let's right. So we're going to focus now on pasuk Yud Gimel. So it says, you should tell the Bnei Yisrael, saying, however, as Shabbos Tishmaru, my Shabbosos, plural, you should watch. Ki ois he. Now we spoke out the he is singular, so that cannot be referring to the Shabbos, but rather it's referring to the fact that Hashem chose us to be the recipient of this beautiful gift. Notice the words are Beini u'beinechem. It's a very personal thing. It's between me and you. Right? Second person, Beinechem, is you. It's very, very personal that it's us and Hashem, that Hashem gave us this gift. And this seems to allude to the idea that we said of the fact that Hashem gave us the Shabbos, specifically to us, and this would be like we said in the Luchos. Which Luchos did we get where there was a personal thing? The second Luchos, that we got the personal relationship that Hashem gave us the Shabbos because of our indebtedness for Zeichel L'Tzias Mitzrayim. So this pasuk is referring to the Shabbos that we got, the ois. It's an ois, and Rashi is saying it's not the Shabbos. It's the fact that Hashem chose us. It's a personal relationship, and Hashem chose us that we should be the recipient of this beautiful gift. That refers to the Luchos Shniyos, which was Zeicher L'Yitzias Mitzrayim. On the other hand, let's turn. We don't have to turn anywhere. Just look. If you took him ahead to Pasuk Yud Zayin, Pasuk Yud Zayin, it repeats the fact that this is an ois. Right here in the same Perek Lamed Aleph, right where we're holding right now, but just skip down 5 psukim, right? And there it says the following words. Right, we start off in Pasuk Tes Zayin, V'shamu B'nei Yisrael Shabbos Nasis Shabbos Zoyis Amr Selam, Beini u'Bein B'nei Yisrael, ois hi le'olam. This is a sign. And here he says, Beini u'bein b'nei Yisrael. He doesn't say Beini u'beinechem. He doesn't say second person anymore. Here it's already a little bit detached, third person, between me and the Bnei Yisrael. So this idea is the idea just it seems to be corresponding to the Luchos Rishonos, that there is such an idea of Shabbos, and Shabbos is a sign, but it's nothing to do with the fact that we got it yet. This is just the ois seems to be corresponding to the Shabbos, the fact that there's a Shabbos, but it's not the personal relationship that we got, because it just refers to, like we said in the Luchos Rishonos, that the Luchos Rishonos were Zecher L'Maseh Bereshis. It had nothing to do with us, and therefore it could be, that's why it says it in third person. So this is just an idea, just to bring out all these points. Comes out that there's two ideas of Shabbos, to sum up, rounding it all together, that there's a personal relationship, and that is in the Luchos Shniyos, which is Zecher L'Maseh L'Yetzias Mitzrayim, and the first Luchos refers to Zecher the Ma'aseh Bereshis is in the first Luchos, and that's nothing personal. It's just the fact that Hashem made a Shabbos, which was in memory of the first creation that Hashem ever did. So that's an idea, I think, a very nice idea to keep in mind when we say Kiddush on Shabbos. So the Kiddush on Shabbos is not a problem anymore, because there are two aspects to Kiddush. On one hand, there's Zecher L'Maseh Bereshis. That is why there's a Shabbos, Zecher L'Maseh Bereshis, because Hashem created the world and He rested on the seventh day. On the other hand, we say a second later, as Danny said, Zecher L'Yetzias Mitzrayim, because that's corresponding to the other idea, the fact that Hashem gave it to us, and that's the personal relationship that Hashem gave us, His special present, and that's the ois that Rashi speaks out on the first pasuk. So that's, to put it all together, that's one idea that we could put into practice when we think about tomorrow night. Okay, now one short point, just to go into the Betzalel and building the Mishkan. It's a fascinating idea. Who was Betzalel? What was he all about? So if you take a look, turn to Perek Lamed Aleph, Pasuk Beis. And this is a separate idea, and it says an interesting pasuk. Pasuk says, Pasuk Aleph, right? Everyone have it in the thin Chumashim. It's on page 255, and in the thicker Chumashim, 488. Here it says in Pasuk Aleph, it says Hashem gave the command to build the Mishkan, and it says Vaydav Hashem al Moshe Lemar. Right? Everyone have where it is on 488. So here it says, Re'ei Karasi b'shem Betzalel ben Uri ben Hur l'matei Yehuda. Hashem said an interesting words. Re'ei, you should see. Karasi, I have called b'shem, by the name, Betzalel ben Uri ben Hur l'matei Yehuda. He says, I've called Betzalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur. Now what does this mean, I have called? What is the pshat that Hashem made? He called, is the fact that, is it coming to say that Hashem gave Betzalel his name? The question is, we don't find that Hashem gave Betzalel a name. Avraham, we find that Hashem changed Avraham's name. Yaakov, Hashem changed his name to Yisrael. He called him Yisrael. I don't think we find in the whole Torah that Hashem gave Betzalel his name. So why here does it say, Karasi, I have called B'Shem Betzalel ben Uri ben Hur l'matei Yehuda. Hashem told Moshe, Karasi, when did he call him his name? So therefore let's look at Rashi. Rashi here on Pasuk Beis says an interesting pshat. Rashi says, Karasi B'Shem, right, everyone have it? In the Thin Chumashim it's 8 lines from the bottom. So Pasuk Beis, it says, Karasi B'Shem, Lasais Melachti Es Betzalel. He says, I have called by the name. You know, he doesn't explain what that means. Lasais Melachti, to do my work, Es Betzalel. So Rashi here puts in a few words. Notice he puts in words to the pasuk. He always tries to paraphrase the pasuk. In Gemara you find this also, that a lot of times he brings down the words of the Gemara, but he'll insert 1 or 2 words to fix up, to help everything flow smoothly. That's Rashi's job. Rashi's the man's best friend. So here too, he reads the pasuk, and he even goes with the Dibra Maskal. Dibra Maskal is the heading title of this Rashi. He takes from the Chumash, but he goes right in. You have to read the heading as though you're reading the pasuk of the Chumash, and he reads it like this: Karasi b'Shem, I have called by his name. And Rashi here, he says, Lasos Melachti, Lasos Melachti, I have called him by his name to do my work. Es Betzalel. Who have I called? Betzalel. So here Rashi, first of all, he puts in the word es. Es, you should know, whenever you see the word es, it's one of these phantom words that it's hard to explain. What does the word es mean? What? Es is marbe. That's true. On the level of drush, on the level of expounding and going deep, which Reb Dov is very, very apt to do. To go deep, es is marbe. Es, the rabbis, we have a lot of expoundations from es. The Gemara learns out, as Hashem Elokech Tir, you have to fear Hashem. And we learn out from there, you have to fear even Talmidei Chachamim. You have to have proper reverence for a big tzaddik. That's true. Now, on just when you have to just learn this over and read the words on a simple level, how would you type the word es? Es, right? It has all over the, look at any pasuk almost. You have S. So what does S mean, right? You have over here, over here we don't have on this page. Here, let's turn to, on the page Chav Zayin. It says, V'es HaShulchan, V'es Kol Keilah, V'es Unar. Why do you type the word S? S is a pointer. S is pointing and it's telling you what it's referring to. Let's say it would say, Vayikach Moshe Es HaMenorah. It's pointing. He took the menorah, because if you wouldn't say the word S, it would be Vayikach Moshe HaMenorah. Menorah. So sometimes you get mixed up what took what. So S is a pointer to say that he took that pointer. S a menorah, he took the menorah. So just keep that in mind. That's always what S comes to do. So Rashi here comes to say here that the words, you can't read the words of the pasuk like its simple meaning, because Hashem didn't call Betzalel the name, and he also didn't proclaim it, right? We don't have it that he proclaimed Betzalel, right? We don't. What does that mean? So Rashi here is saying a third explanation how to read the words, that it says Karasi, I have designated. Rashi is saying Karasi, I have called and designated Betzalel. Lasos Melachti, Rashi says, I have called upon him to do my work. Who have I called? Es Betzalel. Rashi is reading that into the pasuk. Karasi, I have called to do my work. Who? Karasi b'shem. I've called him b'shem. I have called him specifically and designated him. Who? Betzalel. I've called him to do my work. Who? Betzalel ben Uri ben Chur. And if you look at the next words of the next pasuk, it speaks this out, and it says, and I filled him up with Ruach Elokim, with Chachma, with Das, and Chol Malacha, Lachshav Machshavos, and in the end of pasuk, hey, it finally says, Lachshav B'chol Malacha. That's why I've called him. I've called him to do all of this work. So that's what Rashi is saying here. Rashi is saying that that's the explanation. I have called upon Betzalel to designate him to do the work of my Mishkan. So that's the pshat according to Rashi. Okay, now the Ramban seems to argue on this, right? That's Rashi. The Ramban has another explanation, and I'll read it inside.
Ramban.
What? Ramban, and he's found on the side. Ramban, how he explains this explanation. I'll read it outside. If anyone wants to follow, they can follow. But it's here. You could just pass it down. I'm going to read it outside. It's just to explain a new spin on things. How you could turn, if you want to see it, how Ramban explains what these words are. Re'eh b'shem. So Ramban says that he has a whole different shot. Listen to how the Ramban reads this. So it's on this pasuk, Re'eh karasi b'shem, on this very pasuk, and Ramban says the following words. That Hashem said to Moshe, Amar Hashem la Moshe, Re'eh, you should see. Now what does it mean you should see? It's a funny word also in the pasuk. You should see, karasi, that I called him by this name. What does it mean you should see? So he says, Hashem said to Moshe, you should see, karasi b'shem, I have called him by his name. Moshe, Amar Yisrael, Re'u Kara Hashem b'shem. And we're going to find later on Hashem will actually speak this out. Here Hashem is telling Moshe, you should call him b'shem. I have called him b'shem. And later on we're going to see in Parak Lamed Hey, Moshe will actually convey this message. Now listen to these next words. The reason is Hatam, because the Yisrael, when they were in Mitzrayim, they were doing heavy work. They were doing avodas perach with bricks and with mortar. So he says when someone works with bricks and mortar, their hands become very calloused and thick. Right? You ever see a guy? He's working. I had a guy in Eretz Yisrael. He would fix everything. He was what?
Handyman.
A very big handyman, and he would just take apart. A guitar is what? They can callous. But let's take a handyman for this example. This handyman, he had hands. He would touch anything, you know, because his hands were so rough and callous that he wasn't scared. He would take apart the electricity because his hands were like made out of steel. So he worked with his hands the whole day. So Ramban says that all the Jews, they were in the Mitzrayim, they were working very hard for all the years, and their hands became rough and calloused. So how could they come along here and start doing work with gold and silver and wood, Harosh's Evan, and fine embroidery? This takes a lot of, it takes good hands, skilled hands, which he says here that if one person, if you could do one of those types of work, that would be enough. You need special hands to do each of these works. He says you need it would be a pella, he says. It's a pella. He says, first of all, they didn't learn any of these works in the Mitzrayim. They didn't know how to do gold and silver in Egypt. They didn't know how to do embroidery in Egypt. They were working very hard day and night with bricks. So that's the first thing. Where did they learn all this? That's a pella. The second thing he says is that how did they learn how to do all of these ideas? Roy came, embroidery, oireg, to weave. He says even if you would learn by the wise artisans of this generation, you won't find someone who's an expert in all of these things together. You find one person he's expert at gold, one person at silver, one person at embroidery, but you have a do-it-all and everything man, that's almost impossible to find. That's the first pella, that's the first wonder that we found in Mitzrayim. But then he says something else. Someone, let's say he would know about how to do all this, but if he would start working with the bricks and the mortar, then it would be impossible. He wouldn't be able to do fine embroidery. You ever tried to thread a needle? If you have a big fingers, it's impossible to do. Or to pick up, like a penny off the ground. So he said their hands, how could they do this? They were working all day and all night with the cement and the mortar. So how could they do this with a omnis, a type of craftsmanship which is very thin and daka? It's very delicate and yof and beautiful. And then he says another thing. And how did he know how to do all the kalim and the mishkan? It was very hard. Therefore, because Hashem wanted Moshe to understand what this miracle was, he said the following words. He said, Moshe, this is the first pasuk aleph, he said, Vayirm Hashem al Moshe. He told Moshe, Re'eh, you should see. Karasi b'shem B'tzalel. I have called him by the Shem B'tzalel. You should look at this wonder that is happening before your eyes. And you should realize that I have filled him up with Ruach Elikim, right? The pasuk says in pasuk Gimel, I have filled him up, Amale, I filled him with Ruach Elikim. This is the spirit of Hashem. With Chachma, I filled him up with wisdom and das and understanding and all types of help from Hashem in order to make all this. And you should realize this, that I have given this all to B'tzalel in order that he should be able to make the Mishkan. Why? Because I want that there should be a Mishkan made in the Midbar. That's what Hashem's saying. I want this to come about. And if this would go through nature, there won't be any Mishkan. If you try to bring, a few people who are slaves and working with bricks, they will never come out of Mishkan. So Hashem said it was my will that there should be a Mishkan where I could dwell in the Midbar, and therefore I have given this extra das and tuna and wisdom to Re'eh, to B'tzalel. And I want the Mishkan to come about, and there will be a glory for my name, that there will be a place that I will be able to dwell. And therefore, he said, you should look and you should see. And just like he says certain times when he says Re'eh, because Hashem that's the words Re'eh. Re'eh, you should see, Karasi b'Shem, I have designated, it seems like he's going also with the designation shot like Rashi, I've designated B'tzalel ben Uri ben Chor, but for a special task, I want you to observe and understand the wisdom and the pella, the wonder that I have filled him up with das, svuna, and I have helped him do, these are all the next words, the next tukim. I've helped him do gold and silver, embroidery, and weaving, and this is a miracle, and you should observe this. And similar when he says, certain times when Hashem says, I want you to see this, Re'eh. He says, Re'eh, you should see that I gave you a Shabbos. He also says those words. Because it's coming to connote, to observe and understand and take note of this marvelous miracle that Hashem did. So according to the Ramban, it's a different spin on the words Re'eh, Karasi, B'Shem. According to Rashi, it's just simple. You should realize, I've designated B'tzalel to do all of this work. That's according to Rashi. According to Rabbi, no, you should think about it and realize what I have given to B'tzalel. It's a special gift Karasi b'shem b'tal ben Uri ben Hur, to give them this beautiful gifts, the gold and silver, and they could do all this, which is impossible for anyone who has never been trained in this. Okay, these are two ideas. Take for the Shabbos table. Have a good Shabbos.